Could you live knowing your family is buried in your backyard? For most, this is a nightmare. For him, it was a mundane routine, an act of daily deceit. For months, he lived, slept, and smiled at neighbors, literally walking over the bodies of his wife and stepdaughter, buried in his own backyard. No remorse, no hesitation, no regrets.
When the police finally broke the concrete of that backyard in Pompeii in the interior of Sao Paulo, they didn't just find two bodies. They found one of the most disturbing stories of manipulation, family betrayal, and coldness Brazil has ever seen.
This is the story of Cristiane Pedroso dos Santos, her 9-year-old daughter Caroline, and Fabricio Buim Arena Belanado, the psychologist who turned theory into terror, only to use it against his own family.
There is a thin line separating our routine from absolute darkness.
And when someone crosses that line, the story must be told.
I'm Marcus.
I'm Anna, and you are on Shadowline.
Shadowline, where every shadow holds a secret.
The setting is Pompeii, interior of Sao Paulo, a quiet town of just over 20,000 inhabitants, where life moves at a slow pace and anonymity is almost impossible. It's the kind of place where the disappearance of a family would never go unnoticed.
In 2015, 29-year-old Cristiane Pedroso was living what she called the worst moment of her life. She was trying to piece together a life that seemed to be falling apart. The recent grief of losing her mother, the trauma of a betrayal that ended her marriage, and the challenge of being a single mother to two girls, the oldest, 11, and little Caroline, who was just 4 at the time. Cristiane was a survivor. Her sister, Kessia, described her as someone who refused to accept sadness. She changed her path whenever she needed to seek happiness. And it was exactly in that search for a fresh start, in September 2015, that she crossed paths with Fabricio Buim Arena Belanado.
Fabricio, then 31, had an impeccable profile, a psychologist trained at the University of Marilia, a specialist in play therapy and child development. He worked inside schools, dealing with children every day, a respected educational instructor. Beyond his resume, there was also the personal story. He presented himself as a recent widower. He said his first wife had died of cancer. To Cristiane, that sounded like someone who truly understood her pain. Fabricio had set the perfect stage.
What followed was a relationship in record speed. September, they met. October, engagement. On December 5, 2015, they were married. From the first high to the altar, only 3 months had passed, a rush that today feels like a warning sign that went ignored. On social media, their feed was flooded with happy photos, declarations of eternal love, and the image of a perfect family. The family was split between fear of the haste and hope for a happy ending. But for the girls, he was the father of their dreams. There were parties, Father's Day celebrations, and the eldest daughter even adopted the surname Arena on social media. Everything seemed perfect until the facade began to crack.
The first sign that something was wrong didn't come from shouting or arguments, but from silence. Kessia, Cristiane's sister and best friend, felt the distance in her bones. That daily closeness vanished. Phone calls went unanswered. Visits were canceled. This has a name: isolation, a classic control tactic. Cristiane's father, Mr. Eliseo, lived just a few meters away, but he said his daughter's house felt like a fortress, locked doors, closed windows. The family was inside, but unreachable. The distancing was surgical, progressive, and deliberate.
And inside that fortress, the dynamic had been flipped. The teenage daughter, once sweet, began treating her own mother with hostility and disdain. In contrast, she showed an excessive admiration for her stepfather. Neighbors saw it, the family felt it. A relative even witnessed a kiss on the mouth between Fabrizio and the teenage stepdaughter. His justification: fatherly affection. Christiane, manipulated, defended him. When confronted, Fabrizio laughed, said it was just misunderstood paternal affection. Christiane defended her husband. On social media, Christiane gradually disappeared from the photos. Fabrizio's feed became an exclusive album of him and the stepdaughter, outings, dinners, closeness, moments that seemed far too intimate. But no one did anything. After all, who would accuse a respected psychologist of something so horrible based only on intuition?
On January 22, 2021, an anonymous tip was received by the Guardianship Council and the police of Pompeii. Possible domestic imprisonment at the Bellinato family residence. The reason? No one had seen Christiane since October 2020. Caroline, the youngest daughter, hadn't been seen since November. When the police arrived at the residence in the industrial district of the city, they were greeted by Fabrizio and the older stepdaughter, now 16 years old, both smiling, calm, helpful. The question was direct: where is your wife?
Fabrizio didn't hesitate. She ran away with a lover. She took the youngest daughter and abandoned me with the oldest. The story had obvious holes. No name of the supposed lover, no specific date, no concrete details. And worse, when interrogated separately, Fabrizio and the stepdaughter contradicted each other. The police launched an official investigation. Christiane and Caroline were declared missing. Posters were put up, searches were organized, social media was mobilized, but something didn't add up.
Investigators traced Christiane's bank accounts. She had recently been laid off and had a considerable amount saved, severance pay and unemployment insurance. If she had really run away to start a new life with a lover, she would be using that money, but she wasn't. The one moving the money was Fabrizio. Withdrawals, transfers, payments, all made after Christiane's supposed disappearance. From an abandoned husband, Fabrizio became the prime suspect.
February 2nd, 2021, 13 days after the initial report, the police returned to the house with a broader search and seizure warrant. Fabrizio wasn't there, only the stepdaughter. And in the backyard, something that hadn't been there during the previous visit, a newly made concrete slab still showing fresh finishing marks. It wasn't a renovation, it was a desperate attempt at concealment.
The backhoe arrived at noon. First strike on the concrete, second strike. On the third, the smell confirmed what no one wanted to believe. Christiane was there, buried in her own home. Under the concrete someone had carefully poured over her body. The daughter watched from a distance. No tears, no trembling, no surprise. An investigator approached her. Is there anyone else? The answer came with a coldness that froze everyone present. She pointed to another corner of the yard, near a small plastic pool, and said, "The other one is there."
Caroline, 9 years old, buried 1.5 meters deep, in the very spot where she used to play. In that moment, the police understood the scale of the horror. The girl didn't just know, she lived with it for months. She slept in that house, ate in that kitchen, looked out the window into that yard, and she never said a word. Olivia, let's call her that since her identity was protected, was immediately detained and taken to Fundação Casa. Fabrizio was declared a fugitive.
The autopsy reports arrived to confirm the cowardice of the attacks. Christiane suffered multiple stab wounds to the back. The cause of death was acute hemorrhage. There were no defensive marks on her hands or arms. Forensics concluded that she was attacked while sleeping. The man she trusted killed her from behind. With little Caroline, the brutality was different, but just as fatal. Cranial trauma and clear signs of mechanical asphyxiation. She too was taken in her sleep. No struggle, no chance.
But there is a detail in this investigation that turns this horror into something almost unbearable, Marcus. Witnesses reported seeing Christiane in the backyard the day before she disappeared. She had a shovel in her hand, removing dirt, helping prepare the concrete base. She wasn't renovating the house. Without knowing it, Christiane was digging her own grave. What kind of lie did Fabrizio tell her to convince her to prepare the hole where she and her daughter would be thrown just hours later? That answer, to this day, no one knows.
With Fabrizio's photos plastered across every newspaper and TV channel, a national manhunt began. February 8, 2021, an anonymous tip from Bataguasu, Mato Grosso do Sul, roughly 600 kilometers from Pompeia. A man was working as a construction helper at a job site. He used a fake name, but there was one problem. Whenever his co-workers called him by the name he'd given, he wouldn't react. He simply wouldn't react. When Fabrizio's photos started circulating in local WhatsApp groups, one of the workers recognized the new employee.
The police arrived quietly. Fabrizio tried to deny it, said he was just a random worker with no documents, but the photos didn't lie. Confronted, he finally admitted his identity and took the officers to his hidden belongings. During his escape, he had posed as a homeless man seeking shelter in support institutions. He ate, he showered, but always fled when asked for documents. Now he would have to answer for everything.
At the police station, Fabrizio began to talk, and with every statement, the story changed. First version, it was self-defense. Christiane attacked me with a pocket knife during an argument. I grabbed a knife and defended myself. Forensics dismantled that immediately. The stab wounds were in her back, no signs of a struggle. Second version, he had been in a relationship with the stepdaughter for years. Olivia was jealous of her mother. They decided together to eliminate her. Third version, it was him alone. Olivia did not participate directly. Fourth version, Olivia killed her younger sister. He only helped hide the body. Fifth version, he killed Caroline because the girl wouldn't stop asking about her mother, disrupting his new life with Olivia.
But there was one point that remained constant in every version of this crime: the forbidden relationship. According to testimonies, Fabrizio and Olivia had been in a forbidden relationship since she was very young. She claimed it was love. He used the same word. On his social media, the evidence was there. Overly intimate photos, veiled declarations, a closeness that crossed every boundary of a father-child relationship. The prosecution's theory, Christiane found out. She confronted them, and she paid with her life. Caroline, she was simply in the way, an inconvenient witness who wouldn't stop asking about her mother.
On July 29, 2021, the first hearing took place. The charges were accepted: double aggravated homicide, double femicide, double concealment of corpses, and corruption of a minor. And on June 14, 2022, the jury trial began. Olivia's testimony, recorded at Foundation Casa, was shown. No tears, no hesitation, no visible remorse. She described the events as if she were recounting household chores. Fabrizio tried to cry, said he was deeply remorseful, but the jury was not moved.
The sentence was handed down on September 28, 2022. Fabrizio Buim Arena Bellinado, 56 years in prison, to be served in a closed regime, no right to appeal while free. Olivia, because she was a minor, she received a socio-educational measure of up to 3 years at Fundação Casa with psychological monitoring. Today, likely 19 or 20 years old, she is free, while Christiane and Caroline remain dead.
A psychologist who studied the human mind, a teenager who lost her own humanity, a woman who unknowingly dug her own grave, a child who fell asleep for the last time without imagining she would never wake up. This case raises questions with no easy answers. How far does manipulation go? Where does conscious evil begin? Can a 16-year-old mind be so corrupted as to live for months above the bodies of her mother and sister without showing any emotion? The justice gave its answer, but the full truth of what happened inside that house in Pompeii lies buried alongside Christiane and Caroline.
Stories like this are hard to tell, but necessary, so we remain alert to the warning signs. If this video affected you in any way, share it. Information is our best defense. And now we want to hear from you. What detail of this case shocked you the most? The fact that he was a psychologist, or the coldness of the older daughter when she pointed to where her sister was buried?
Leave your comment. We'd be glad to hear your opinion. Thank you for being with us today.
Stay safe and stay alert to the shadows. Until the next video.